All right, how's it going, everyone? This week we'll be talking about medieval and Gothic Europe. Let's begin. All right, so the medieval era is known as the Middle Ages. If you look at the word medieval, that literally means Middle Ages. Okay, med, the root word med, meaning middle. So that literally translates to Middle Ages. And it lasts from the 5th to 15th century CE. And it began with the fall of Western Roman Empire, which is also the beginning of the Byzantine Empire. So the medieval era, or period, it started as the Byzantine Empire took place. So as we learned last week, the Western Roman Empire, it started when the Roman Empire divided into two, right? Eastern and Western. And then when the Western part fell, only the Eastern Roman Empire was left, and that Eastern Roman Empire turned into the Byzantine Empire, and that was 5th century CE. And it lasted until the beginning of the Renaissance. The Renaissance, it started around 14th century CE. It wasn't until 15th century or even 16th century where Renaissance really was at its climax. And so that's when the Middle Ages ended. Okay, so the Middle Ages, the early Middle Ages especially, was known as the Dark Ages because most of Europe, or maybe I should say all of Europe, they experienced a lot of a decline of culture, population, economy, and there was also perpetual conflict. So there really wasn't much advancement in a lot of these things, and things were very stagnant, and people were only interested in religion and the spreading of this religion, enforcing this religious doctrine. And their interest in the arts and culture and things like philosophy, it really declined, and the economy was bad, and they had the Black Death, the bubonic plague, and also the 100 Years' War. There were a lot of conflicts, and all of that contributed to the ending of the medieval era. And then art becomes simplified, and architecture becomes more important. So as we saw in the Greek and Roman sculptures, they were very detailed creations, right? And then things just went downhill from there. Everything just became simplified, and technicality was lost, and the craft of creating these realistic looking sculptures was gone. Okay, and then architecture becomes more important. Why does architecture become more important? Well, because religious structures such as churches and cathedrals, they overtake in importance. Okay, and then religion and religious conflict takes over. So a lot of wars. Later on, past the Renaissance period, there's going to be the formation of the Protestant Church and other denominations, because the Catholic Church loses power and corruption is exposed and whatnot. Until then, religion becomes the number one priority in everyone's lives. And then religion also becomes centralized and is main authority, which means it's the government. The religion is the government, and the government is religion. They feed on each other. It becomes one. And then corporal punishment was used as a method to keep the other beliefs out. The other beliefs being Islam, mostly, Judaism. Okay, and then art solely for religious or political purposes. So we're not going to see any secular works of art in the medieval era, because they simply weren't made, and they weren't of importance, and a lot of things were banned. They weren't allowed to do a lot of things. Okay, so art was made solely for religious purposes, and governments and the church would commission them. Okay, and art becomes flat and it doesn't have any shadows. Okay, so the religious message takes precedence. All right, so here are some samples of medieval era art. So you're going to notice that it looks a lot like the Byzantine Empire pieces. That's because the Byzantine Empire is part of the medieval era. So this whole medieval, this whole period we're talking about it spans from 5th century to 15th century CE, right? And the Byzantine Empire existed starting with the 15th century. So they were at the forefront of the medieval style. And then by the time we reached the 15th century, the end of the medieval period, the country of Italy, the Holy Roman Empire, that area becomes more culturally important. So as you can see, okay, lots of gold again, and halos. Okay, so maybe this is the bishop, this is a monk, hence the bald head, and we don't know who these people are, but maybe I think this is Jesus, because there's a cross, and maybe this is Mary, and yeah, very front facing and very flat. Okay, so this is a mosaic. Again, lots of gold, and it's very colorful, and again, it's very flat. Like, we don't see the dimensionality that we used to see in Greek and Roman art. Yep, once again, very flat. Almost looks like a modern cartoon or a comic strip. But a lot of detail is lost. You know, the most important thing to do is to convey the message that Jesus is king, and that's about it. I think this is Mother Mary and this is Jesus, hence the cross. It's kind of faint, but you can see the cross here, like going this way. Okay, and this is Mary because she doesn't have a cross behind her head, but she has a halo. Okay. So the medieval era, babies weren't drawn really well, and that's because they believed that Jesus, when he was born, he was already fully spiritually mature. So they painted babies like full-grown adults. And that's why you're going to see, if you do some research on Google, go on Google Images and look at some medieval babies, you're going to see that a whole lot of them, or maybe every single one of them, are painted with full adult proportions and faces. That's because they believe that Jesus was born basically mature. Okay, so one of the ways to distinguish or differentiate medieval era with other eras art is by looking at If there's a baby, look at the baby. If the baby is kind of like, it looks like a full-grown adult, then you can safely assume that it's a painting from the medieval era.